So let's talk for a minute about tips. What should we tell the people out
Prevention. Let's talk about ransomware attack prevention. This is my bread and butter, man. I love this stuff. Let's talk about it. So I think this is opinion based, right? This isn't like to say this is the number one thing you have to do, because the context absolutely dictates. But if your only concern is accessing your data, you don't care if it's out there, if it's like pictures of your kids or your grandkids, or if it's just, the script to the movie you're writing. Maybe continually back up your data on a source that is not the computer that you're using, right?
Backups,
back up
man.
your data. Backups are everything.
If they steal it, they don't have the only one. If they blow it up, they don't blow up the only one.
Exactly.
Redundancy. It's one of the most important and most resilient ways. And that's even true for systems. Let me just throw that in. Even your systems, keeping, a snapshot of your systems ready to pull from a backup. Now, that's kind of overkill for a lot of regular users. But there are ways to do it in a number of operating systems. If you use the Mac, there's a rollback feature. You can restore from a previous snapshot of your whole system. There are other tools that let you do the same thing that are readily available. So it's not just something that big organizations want to do. You can roll back too. And if you get blown up and you roll back, using the Apple Time Machine or whatever other mechanism, that can be a way you become resilient, just under that first topic of backing things up.
Absolutely. Now, of course, backing up isn't the only option for a lot of organizations out there that are keen on protecting private data, right? It doesn't matter if you have redundancy, if it's private data, it's still private data that's out there technically in the open. So what are some ways that we can so what are some ways we can actually prevent, ransomware attacks in that respect? And that goes back to the basic cyber hygiene stuff that we've talked about time and time again, right? Updating antivirus software, making sure that your software is up to date, making sure that your software is patched, right? Not clicking on links in your emails from unknown senders, right? That's a big one, right? And doing stuff like that, it's huge.
And honestly, there are mechanisms for storing data in ways that make theft, irrelevant. For instance, in addition to encrypting it, obviously that's number one. There are ways in their formats that you can break your data down, do some sort of either anonymization or pseudonymization with the information, so that the way it's stored, if someone grabs what's stored, there's no meaningful information. So just to illustrate what I'm talking about, right? Some of the things that we don't want people to lose is personally identifiable information, things like your social security number, your birth date, that sort of thing. But here's the trick about that kind of information. It's only personally identifiable when it's in context. A social security number is just 9 digits, 9 numeric values. Without context of A, it being a social security number, and then B, it being the social security number for someone, it's just 9 digits, doesn't have any meaning, and therefore is not necessarily personally identifiable. The thing is, when you store the social security number right here and the name right next to it, well, then we got a problem.
Right.
But there are
then
ways
you have some identifiable.
There are ways through database design and storage techniques where you can completely obscure that information in a way that even if they grab the whole table, they do some sort of SQL injection, because you have a weak web app, and they pull down the entire database. They're pulling down gobbledygook that's mixed from all over the place. They're not actually seeing what is the reality or what is the matched up information from your that makes it personally identifiable. So basically, you're accepting the fact that you've been breached, but you're making sure that what gets breached doesn't actually do any harm. Now, that's not a end all be all approach. That's just part of a layered strategy, a defense in depth strategy for different ways to protect yourself from exfiltration.
Yep, exactly. And let's be honest. This isn't. I don't want to say this is all doom and gloom. We don't need to go, oh no, just because, ransomware groups are out there. There's a lot of mechanisms that are now in place that weren't even a year or two ago that are actually really beneficial and provide, I think, a lot of hope for everyday consumers and organizations alike, right? Nowadays, especially in the US, right? The Department of Justice has, they've created the Ransomware and Digital Extortion Task Force, which I think is the fact that we actually have that now is such a benefit, because it means that not even the money that you potentially pay to these ransomware groups is untraceable, right? Like in the Colonial Pipeline attack, they actually paid $4.4 million in Bitcoin, but they were actually able to get some of that back through various mechanisms. And that was largely due to the efforts of the DOJ. And so things are getting
caught some of the villains.
They've caught some of the, awareness is out there. It's on the rise. The mechanisms are in place, not only for mandatory reporting for certain entities like critical infrastructure and things of that nature, but also there's more resources out there for the general consumer to engage with. And I think we would be missing the mark completely if we didn't at least mention nomoreransom.org. And there, I'll put it up on the screen there for everybody. They are a project out there that provides not only information and Q&A on what is ransomware and what to do if you are a victim of ransomware, but they actually provide just an insane amount of actual decryption tools. So these are tools that are used to actually decrypt data that has been encrypted through various different attacks. A lot of the known attacks actually have decryption software out there that can be bought on the dark web, and nomoreransom.org has that on their website. I'm going to put that in the link of this episode so that if you are the victim, unfortunately, if you are the victim of ransomware, you have a good, knowledgeable resource to turn to.
Yeah. So, and that's a great thing. I think that's a great thing because that's really a great thing because, as we mentioned earlier, most of these guys, most of these cyber criminals aren't the geniuses that created the attack vectors and the attack methodologies. Exactly. They're just buying these tools, grabbing these tools, using secondhand tools. So there are some geniuses out there who have been able to reverse engineer these tools because they can get the tool too. And once you get the tool and reverse engineer the tool, you have a way of actually recovering some of the damage that was done. Unless, of course, it's one of those cat out of bag situations.
Thanks for watching this clip of the Cyber Guys podcast. If you like this video, be sure to drop us a like and leave us a comment to let us know what you thought. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more great content like this. By subscribing, you'll be the first to know when we upload a new video, and you'll never miss out on the latest Cyber Guys updates. Take it easy out there. Remember, stay safe, be secure, be sure. We'll see you next time.